safety tips for your kids. 1 out of 5 children is sexually solicited online, but there are ways you can protect them from internet predators. Joshua Feiner is the president of Software for Parents. Joshua, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
1 out of every 5 sexually solicited. By that, what do we mean exactly? What kind of solicitations?
Well, there's really a range in the definitions, and that could be anything from having sexual comments made to them all the way up to the actual attempted meetings or actual abuse of children.
And sometimes even naked pictures of people
correct.
having sex. And if you have a child who's underage or have a child at all, you don't want your child exposed to that. So let's talk about your basic 5 tips, which I think are very good to help parents and children. You say, never, ever reveal personal information. Now, that's easy for a parent to say, but you've got to tell your kids that.
Right, and it's really a matter of awareness. It's a matter of the parents being aware that that's the single biggest way they can help to protect their children's privacy, and them repeatedly, not just once, telling their children that that is an important thing. Never give out your name, address, phone number online, because once you give it out, you can't take it back.
You also say regularly communicate to your children about what they're doing online, who they're talking to. Ask them, but, you know, how do you get them to tell you?
That is absolutely correct, and it's really about opening the line of communication. You really need to open that line of communication and say, who are you talking to and what are you talking about? Because chances are, if the parent has met those children before, they will be more comfortable with their children speaking to them online.
Do you recommend they tell them, warn them about sexual predators and say, hey, look, if you see, smell, see anything like this, I want you to tell me right away?
Certainly so, because there's typically a pattern of behavior, and there are certain things that they should look for, and if the children are unaware of this, then they might be that much more susceptible.
Put the computer in the family room or any common room, never in the bedroom?
That is correct. It sounds a little counterintuitive because parents really mean well by putting it in the bedroom, but it creates the opportunity for a private conversation and really breaks down that line of communication. It really helps to open the line of communication by having it in a public area where they can say, hey, who are you talking to?
Know your child's screen name. Now, people may wonder why this is important, but it's so important because predators are actually using screen names to choose their victims.
That is correct, and you should make sure that a screen name never has personal information, never has a geography in it, never has specific hobbies or school or team names. These predators will look through membership directories searching for certain words that could be of importance to them. So it's a lot more anonymous for your child to be nice girl 5 rather than sexy teen 5, and you'd be very surprised at the number of suggestive screen names for young teenage girls.
You also say that there's specific things, basically locks, that parents can put on their computers or the use of their computers by their children. You say there are monitoring and filtering software. What are the differences?
Well, those are the 2 basic types of internet safety software. Filtering software is the type of software that tries to prevent your children from going to inappropriate sites, such as pornography or violent sites. But it also has some interesting new features, such as privacy filters. These are where the parents enter in the child's name, address, phone number, and if the child ever tried to reveal that online, it would forbid it from going out.
Oh, that's a very important information. Okay, let's take them one by one. For example, you have specific recommendations on the level of filtering software. You like something called Net Nanny.
Yes,
Why?
that's correct. Net Nanny 5.0 is one of the newest products out there. It tends to filter the very best out of all the products we have tested, and also has a lot of additional features such as that privacy filter I mentioned, and also pop-up ads. These are becoming very annoying, and sometimes they're even pornographic, and this product can actually prevent them from popping up and interrupting your child's internet experience.
And for monitoring software, you have actually 2 recommendations. One's called eBlaster.
That is correct. What that will do is basically capture all of the child's instant messages, email, websites visited, and deliver that via email to the parent's email account. So if the parent works late and the child comes home from school fairly early, the parent can keep an eye on the home computer right from work.
Spector Pro.
That is correct. That is also a product for parents keeping track of all their children's instant messages, email, websites, everything the child does on the computer. But that information will be available right on the computer.
It would seem that these monitoring devices and filtering devices would be most effective with very young children, but it would seem that kids who are teenagers and you know, moving towards 17, 18 are not going to be stopped by this. They'll find a different computer, and they'll get really angry at their parents for putting these kinds of devices on. It's sort of a trust issue, don't you think? I mean, so what is, isn't ultimately it's about the relationship you have with your children?
It is really about the communication, as we discussed, and it's about that relationship. And, you know, not every family is created equally, so for some families, products might be more important than others, and for some products, or for some families rather, it might be more than enough to just have a conversation with them and to really just get into the internet loop.
Is there a way to think of this? In other words, somebody once said to me that having your child on the internet is like having your child on a public street unattended. Do you agree with that analogy?
I do in many ways, and just like you wouldn't send your child across a busy street, you know, you would teach them to look both ways and hold their hand. It's really the same thing with the internet. And you need to teach them to essentially hold your hand in terms of the internet.
Great advice, Joshua Finder. Thank you this morning
Thank
for
you
some
for
very
having me,
good. Our pleasure.